Do you like Haney? I do not like Devin Haney or how he looks. Devin Haney is ugly as his nostril. He looks like a ninja turtle. Honestly, dude, he has like the same nostrils as a horse. Like, don't invite Devin Haney to go snort cocaine with you because he'll around OD and snort, man. Honestly, bro, Devin Haney goes into a room and takes up all the oxygen. I'm only speaking facts. Devin Haney is the ugliest fighter in the world. Devin Haney looks like a ox, man.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to your live boxing ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to your live. Rolando Romero gives his first words after defeating Ryan Garcia, and he talks about a potential rematch between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney now that he has beaten Ryan Garcia for the WBA title. Man, oh man. So Ryan Garcia, he just lost to Rolly Romero. Your boy Ego, I'm going to keep tooting my horn because I'm the best in the business and it's not even close. I warned you, I warned you, I warned you. You guys were like, oh, Turkey's the best. Turkey's saving boxing. And I'm like, this rapid, erratic decision-making that is not thought out, you're going to find out very quickly who knows boxing and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. And I warned you, this triple header, it was a pipe dream to think with those matchups that it would be 3-0, all the perfect outcomes, T.O. winning, Devin winning and impressing, and Ryan Garcia winning and impressing. You're asking for too much, point blank, period. And anybody that would listen on my channel, I warned you guys as such and stated that this would not turn out well. And once again, the best in the business, and it's not even close, was right. Because Ryan lost. Not only did Ryan lose to Rolly for a title, you also had Devin Haney, who won, but he won in such a lackluster fashion that it can't really be celebrated or marveled. He didn't look great. So both of them putting up performances for different reasons left more questions than answers. For Ryan, it's a bad look because he popped dirty. He looked like Superman when he fought Devin Haney, and his power was crazy. Some people said his body type they felt was different. And then he comes from that, and now we know you're getting tested and you got to fight clean. That is not the performance that you want, because naturally people are going to obviously say, oh, look, this is Ryan off the juice. You have to understand the pressure you're up against. So that's Ryan. Then for Devin, same thing. A little bit different because he didn't fail a drug test, but he was under immense pressure. Suing Ryan Garcia, fighting people at the county fair, the fight with Ryan Garcia getting dropped so many times. It really shattered his imagery of who he is or who he could be, and boxing will do that to you. You could have a fighter who's on a crazy tear, and then certain losses will really push you back down the ladder. So for Devin, I think everybody who follows boxing was watching the fight with a close eye on Devin's behavior, and he had to have known this. And the question and why people were so cautiously looking at Devin's behavior was obviously the Ryan Garcia fight. People wanted to see if he was the same. Now, Devin claims he only lost, and his team, to Ryan because Ryan's a cheater. If that is in fact the case, you probably should have been a lot more confident going into the Jose Ramirez fight. Ramirez is past his best. It was at a catch weight that you chose. It's not even the full 147. So you should have, he's older than you. He hasn't looked good in years, which I've been saying before the fight. You really should have looked more impressive, all things considered. And in the Ramirez that showed up, he literally wasn't even punching. So it's like, I could understand if he was looking like prime Marcos Maidana. So you're like, okay, let me just keep my distance, because some fights will be like that where you got to get the ugly win. But for Devin to get an ugly win here, it seemed really unnecessary. I understand what happened with Ryan, but you weren't in with Ryan. You didn't do an immediate rematch. You were in there with Ramirez, and you looked like deathly afraid of him. Anyway, Rolly did an interview with Fight Hype, and he says, quote, "I don't think I spoiled plans of a rematch because they're still adamant about doing the rematch." Then he's asked about like the winner. He said, "I don't know how much traction is going to get considering both fighters had the lowest punch output ever," right? He says, "I think they should do it again. I was helping them promote the fight. I kept saying they should have the rematch. I just went in there to whip Ryan's ass and get my belt. I didn't care about anything else. You can't promote a fight like Garcia Haney 2 and completely forget about who else is on the fight." Sound familiar? Sound exactly like what Boxing Ego's been saying? It's disrespectful. Turkey and this new style of promoting that he has is disrespectful. You don't, like, at best, if you're gonna disrespect the fighter, from all of my years in this game, at least you better pick a journeyman and somebody who literally has a very, very small chance of winning. Like some guy, you know, those guys that have a crazy 3-67-8 record where they have mostly losses. And even if you picked a person like that, it's still boxing where a guy like that can pull it off, right? We've seen a lot of prospects who they weren't supposed to lose when they lost and to who they lost to. You know what I mean? They were like in line for title fights and they just get knocked off the road by a random. So you can never be too sure. This is what Rolly's saying. This is what Boxing Ego has been saying, because I know boxing. Rolly says, look at it. They all just fought to get the next paycheck. Ryan tried to win for one moment, then he got cracked and he changed. I'm going to fight for the next paycheck. They're all fighting for the next paycheck. They're not fighting to win. It is disgusting. I don't fight for money and you can't buy me. Do you think Shakur is worth anything he asked for? No. Do you think Devin is worth anything he asked for? No. Ryan has a big following, so we'll give him a pass. Canelo has a big following, so we'll give him a pass. Honestly, what has Canelo done in a long time? I know Benavidez is going to beat his ass. I know Benavidez isn't fighting for a paycheck. He's fighting because he wants to win, and that's the difference. That's what's destroying the sport. People being overpaid for what they don't deserve. Man, Rolly is a beast on the mic, pause. And literally, he's saying everything that Boxing Ego has been telling you. Of course, fighters are risking their life. They definitely deserve to get cashed out and paid handsomely. However, there has to be some level of almost like recourse if a person, like if you hire and commission someone to paint your house, for example, and then they paint it, but they do a horrible job, and then the paint from the coat underneath it is bleeding through, I'm not paying you what we agreed on. You're going to have to fix that, or something is going to have to give. And boxing should have some kind of like a way to give fighters demerit. And when they pull up and they quit or something like that, you can tax them. Like it has to have like some kind of rule book that everybody follows or whatnot, or at least has the option. You know how like I used to work at Best Buy back in the day and they had a restocking fee. So if you return a MacBook computer and you don't have like the original box, is missing components and the keyboard and all that, then you're getting charged a restocking fee. There has to be some type of restocking fee for boxers, because some people aren't promoting and they're not performing, both of them, right? And Turkey, since he has a lot of money that he has access to right now, right? He's just fueling people, and you thought it would be fun to do a triple header in the middle of the street. It all turned out to be a horrible idea. Like, you can't, boxing doesn't work like this, where you just have some kind of weird cockamamie idea and you just run it, right? You have logistics, things you have to literally think about when it comes to boxing. You have to know, like, I've spent so much time in boxing gyms at fights. I've spent most of my recent life involved in boxing. Every day is boxing, period. So you have to really understand this sport. Like, you did this fight in the middle of the street and then you don't have no locker rooms. They're saying the locker room is 2 blocks away. You got to catch a cab to the fight. That in and of itself is dumb and would make me hesitate, because normally if you know boxing, you got a guy who, let's say he's at the Barclays. He's in the Barclay locker room warming up, and then he walks straight out, gets into the ring in the venue. The fans are in the stand. Boom. But they did so many weird things with this, and it just did not come across as a success, right? You had a very limited crowd, 200, 400 people of VIP, ISO speeds and stuff like that. And it's cool. I don't have nothing against him. However, these aren't diehard boxing fans, so they're never going to be able to recreate the energy of 16,000 fans that are rabid, that really love this sport. Some of them even maybe drinking or having fun in groups. So you take that away, and then you get the Ryan Garcia card with Rolly. You get Canelo Skull, where the crowd seems super dry. And like when Ryan got knocked down, it wasn't even that loud. But it just picture what I'm saying. When Rolly knocked Ryan down in the second round, had that been in the Barclays Center and Rolly dropped him in front of 17,000 people, they're going to erupt. You're going to hear it. I've covered so many fights, the Wilders, the Errol Spence. When Errol Spence at the Staples Center dropped Sean Porter in a war, everybody went up. I've been in Texas, watched David Benavidez, and in LA, watched David Benavidez get knockouts, right? I watched Caleb Plant when he dropped Uzcategui, I think twice in that fight, right? I've watched Jermell Charlo when he knocked out Tony Harrison. I've been at Mayweather McGregor's and Canelo Khan's and all these fights that I've covered over the years, and you can't duplicate that. You could put $40 billion in the fight. If you do everything wrong, then it is not worth a hill of beans. And Turkey definitely did this event wrong. And what Rolly's saying is when you start overpaying the fighters, it's usually not a good result, because just think about it. And I've said exactly what Rolly is telling you now. I've said several times on my channel. Fighters need to be almost incentivized, if you will, right? Like, just think of a bull. Why do people go to the rodeo? Because it's exciting. It's adrenaline. You see a cowboy, how long can he stay on the bull? And, the bull's going crazy, seeing red, bucking like crazy, trying to stomp him out, trying to gore him, you know what I mean? And the clowns come out and the bulls start chasing them. It has to be exciting. I've never been to a rodeo. I don't live in Texas, so I've never been to a rodeo. However, it has to be exciting. I've watched them on TV and stuff. And the thing that makes it exciting is the unpredictability of it all, right? You have rodeo fans in the crowd, not like a group of 200 VIP people that Turkey invited. You know what I mean? And it's unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. And the other thing, when it comes to bull riding, some of the things that they've done, they've stabbed bulls before. They've tased them, right? They have things that hit their testes. You know what I mean? All these things to aggravate and anger and trigger the bull before these rodeos. I don't know if you guys knew that, right? So by the time they open the gates or whatever, the bull, you open that fence, it's on, because you done shocked this bull and you got him hyphy. It's over. You see what I'm saying? So think about boxers. That's why they're saying from Hagler, it's hard to get up at 6 a.m. every day in silk pajamas. Perfect quote. Makes a ton of sense. When you got guys making Canelo money. He might like just hanging out and going on trips with his family at this point. He like golfing. That's why he don't want to fight no David Benavidez, because David Benavidez is still in a career point where he's hungry and he wants to prove that he's the best. Canelo, I think truly he has lost that true desire. Now he's still good. He's still experienced. So he can, run it up and get 30, 50 M's or whatever a night by fighting. But definitely not the same as like a prospect who's super hungry or someone fresh out the Olympics or the Benavidez is. People who still want to prove something. And then as far as this Turkey situation, when you got guys making more than they really deserve, you're stifling the game, right? Because again, this is not to deject a fighter or say and like point out somebody's worth, but in business, you kind of have to. Like, imagine it's not a charity. You see what I'm saying? So imagine if you had a retail store and you have a person who can't sell and their job is a salesman for the store. What are you going to do with that employee? You're going to either discipline them or write them up and write them out and get them out of there, right? Because it's not conducive to the business. Now, in boxing, a little bit different. You got guys who aren't the best. They might lose. But if they put on a fun fight and they challenge these opponents and they have a good spirit and they're fun to work with, easy to work with, they're reliable, they train hard, yeah, you keep guys like that around. But if somebody is a journeyman and they're getting splattered and they're difficult to work with and they're getting in arguments with different people and they're just a headache, yeah, you cut people like that. You're not winning. You're not fun to be around. You're not fun to work with, or you're drinking all the time and you're not a disciplined fighter, X, Y, and Z. Yeah, you don't need to be part of this outfit. So back to it. When Turkey's overpaying Ryan or especially Devin, right? A person like Devin, because we're looking at it, you like, and I'm not trying to single people out. I'm telling you how this business works. Look at it. Out of the triple header, the highest earners were probably T.O., Devin, and Ryan. So Ryan didn't put up a good performance at all. However, his name being attached with his fan base, it generates more looks than you otherwise would have. That's why Rolly is saying Canelo and Ryan have big fan bases, so we'll give him a pass. So I understand what he's saying. Then you look at T.O. I don't think he has a fan base like Ryan, and I don't know if it's even bigger than Devin's fan base. I don't know. However, T.O. is the fighter on here outside of Rolly that actually showed up and tried to entertain and make it a fight, right? Teofimo it looked like one of T.O.'s better fights. He looked pretty sharp. Came out, he was dancing, he was throwing power. It was Barbosa who came up flat and short. So then I can't really knock T.O. because you don't have the Ryan fan base, but you look like you trained and you performed. So then you look at Devin, who may have made more than T.O. I'm just guessing. But you look at Devin and you are the co-feature, the second one to carry this card. You don't have Ryan's fan base. You had a lot of questions. None of those questions were answered in a good way, in a positive way. And then you didn't perform like a Teofimo Lopez. So yeah, I agree with Rolly 1,000%. And it's not just Devin, it's also Canelo. Imagine, I seen the report. I don't know if it's true. I don't really care. It said Canelo was getting $80 million. Bro, I would be livid if I was Turkey. $80 million for Canelo, and he can't even cut off the ring. He just complained about it post-fight, talking about, oh, he ran. Like, that's weak. So I agree with it. You're overpaying people that don't deserve it. What boxing should have done a long time ago is, Devin Haney, if your fights don't look up to par, we got to give you the amount of money that indicates that, reflects that. Canelo Alvarez, you're a bigger star, you have a good resume, but if you want the upper echelon, the 80 to $100 million, you got to fight David Benavidez or Bevo Beterbiev or somebody like that. Then we'll give you them. But then these companies allowed Canelo to just pick and choose and fight these weak people that no one wanted to see him fight. Yildirim's coming off a 2-year layoff and a loss, fight William Skull. And then when it's a bad product, then people like, oh man, who would have thought? Me? I would have thought, because I never wanted to see the fight. You have never in life heard Boxing Ego brag and rave about William Skull and saying that William Skull is the guy that needs to fight Canelo. The name that I frequently said is David Benavidez, but I can't get my wish. And this is what's wrong with boxing. You got guys getting overpaid and they're having their way with it. And then there's no like demerits or quote unquote restocking fee, as I mentioned earlier in this video. So even if you have a horrible performance, then you still get paid the regular amount, right? And there's differences because like Errol Spence, he had a bad performance versus Terrence Crawford, but we don't fault him for that because you could tell it wasn't like he wasn't trying to make the fight. He was getting hurt and Crawford just was besting him. So you could usually tell in a fight when it's just a matter of somebody's outskilling, outwilling, hurting an opponent versus an opponent almost just turning up for a paycheck. It's pretty obvious. So I agree with Rolly. Rolly is cooking. And this is a big problem with the politics in boxing, right? Because Rolly, he did a live and he said that his hotel, they didn't have a room for him. He had his gloves or something and they didn't have the right gloves. And he said he just ate it. He said he just wanted to get his hands on Ryan and he stayed with the game plan and it paid off for him. But he had to endure things like a lack of favoritism, right? Messed up his accommodations. He said he had no per diem, nothing, right? So that's how they treated him. And then he's the one that actually comes to fight and perform and scores a knockdown. Meanwhile, you got Ryan making more than him, and then Devin possibly making more than him, most likely making more. I don't know because he was the main event, but Devin may be making more than him. And Devin put on a performance where people didn't really enjoy it. He was keeping too much distance. Like, you know me, I'm not, if you guys follow my channel for the last decade plus, I'm not big on this like runner, this guy's a runner talk and stuff like that. Throughout the years, I'm not talking about this year or last year, throughout the years, I'm not really big on calling everybody a runner. However, we've seen some recent performances where that label is not really far off. And Devin Haney, that performance was one of them, right? You had these weird like Shakur Edwin, William Skull, Devin Haney performances where the movement is egregious and it is excessive. So there's guys that get called runners like Mayweather, and that's a lie because Mayweather be right there in the pocket. He'll fight Robert Guerrero and then you have racist fans say Mayweather ran. You know what I mean? We're not talking about that. You have to learn to distinguish and separate the two because there are people who get called runners even when they're throwing offense, like Lada or somebody. But these performances just weren't good. They weren't good. Devin Haney, he looked like almost he was fighting like he was hurt in that fight. Like he just was he was a closed book and he was like trying to keep so much distance and very reluctant to engage with his opponent. And it was weird because he was making it like his opponent was Mike Tyson or something. Like he in there fighting Deontay Wilder, right? Where he's just like, I can't get close to this guy. And that's how he fought and spent most of his time in the fight. So they can still rematch, but they have officially, in my opinion, they have hurt the rematch drastically hurt the rematch because what I said at the beginning of this video and what I've been saying on my channel. This is why you don't do it. Like it's like Turkey keep making these boneheaded mistakes, and then the people who are paid off, they won't call it out because they're so broke that they need a sugar daddy or whatever to, I guess, accommodate and pay for them. So they just assume not bring this stuff up, which also waters down the sport, but that's a whole separate issue, right? Turkey, instead of giving us Wilder, he came in the game doing this. Instead of giving us Wilder AJ, he did the Day of Reckoning card and put them on the same card, but not against each other. And I complained about it. I'm like, why don't they just fight each other? It don't really make sense. People want to see the Wilder AJ when they were both undefeated. They're no longer both undefeated. You still have some value in the fight. Why are you waiting? Why are you, if you talk to both guys, they both want to do it and you got the money to make it happen, why are you putting another obstacle in between it when you have the money to get it done on that Day of Reckoning card? But then they put Joshua with Otto Vilene. Meanwhile, Wilder, he has to fight a former champion in Joseph Parker, and he ends up losing bad. So then they bring him back and put him in with 300-pound Zhang, who kind of ruined Joe Joyce's career. And it's like, what? And then he gets knocked out in that fight. So now it's like Wilder is MIA. I think he's fighting on BOK Prime or whatever. It's like, that's how you build a Joshua Wilder fight? It just doesn't make any sense. Same thing we did with Martin Bakole. Hey, Bakole was supposed to fight on the Times Square card against F.A. Ajagba, right? For the IBF Eliminator. Turkey pulled him, and then F.A. Ajagba was on the sideline. Bakole get knocked out in 2 rounds by Joseph Parker. So Joseph Parker already spoiled your plans with Wilder AJ. Why would you put him versus an untrained fat Bakole? It's like, again, boxing is not for everybody. I don't care how much money you have. It doesn't matter, because I know matchmakers. What they do is send me a picture of you on the scale. Send me a video of you on the scale. And then that's what I would have did. If I was Turkey, I would have been like, Bakole, hop on the scale and send me a video right now. And then, because Daniel Dubois, I wouldn't even tell him, but the reason was because Daniel Dubois pulled out because he was ill. I wouldn't even tell him. I would say, Bakole, get on your phone, send me a video of you hopping on the scale. And then when that scale read that he's 320 pounds, I'll be like, oh, for sure, never mind. And I would hang up the phone. And I wouldn't even bother him. Because 320 at heavyweight, most people aren't going to perform their absolute best. Like even Jarrell Big Baby Miller, when he fought Daniel Dubois, he came in like too heavy and he didn't look that good. Then he trimmed down some for the Andy Ruiz fight and looked way better. You see what I'm saying? And then on top of it, you got to do all this traveling. It was last minute. So I would have never even pulled Bakole, but Turkey did. Then you give us, just like Wilder Joshua on the same card, you give us Haney, Ryan Garcia on the same card, thinking that's going to be something. And they both underperform and look horrible. And then now you're probably going to try to sell us in October a rematch. And Rolly's like, yeah, they could rematch. Yeah, they can, but it's not going to be for a belt. And it's not going to be as meaningful as if Ryan didn't lose again and Devin didn't have a lackluster performance. So good luck with that. This is exactly why I told you, Turkey, he might as well just, if he got all this money, he might as well just gave me some money for some advisory stuff, because my ideas in boxing wouldn't have you looking like this. And I show you that on my videos. But again, to each his own, do it your way. And he continues to do it your way. And then now, and it's really not even just that fight. Even the Canelo fight, bro. Canelo looked horrible. You put him in with William Skull, which on paper is a guy who's going to run or give Canelo issue because he's big, he's young, and he's a mover, and he's Cuban. Why would you put Canelo in with that style if you're trying to do your first foray in the TKO boxing with Dana White with Terrence Crawford? You want guys to look good, pause, right before a mega fight. Not look like dogs. And then people are like, some people even saying William Skull won the fight. I wouldn't go that far. but it was a boring fight and it didn't help Canelo's stock. So Turkey and Fatal Fury and Ring, they keep making these decisions and they're not good. They're not good decisions. So now Rolly, PBC and Rolly, they came out big because Rolly, now he could wait for Barrios Pacquiao winner or something. He said he would fight Adrian Broner. The world's his oyster right now because he's a champion again. So he has an opportunity to fight whoever, you know what I mean? And then now you got Devin and Ryan, and they got to try to sell a fight based off the steam of the first fight, but they both lost steam in their last fight. We unpacked. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new, but even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate, so ultimately you can realize all of your online goals. Use my affiliate link in the description and grow your channel fast.